welcome back to my channel, and it's Jasmine. And today's video I'm going to be doing a try not to get scared challenge, or try not to scream challenge, because I'm going to be watching a scary animation story video and I'm going to try not to get scared. So I'm going to put my headphones on and then let's get started, guys. Alrighty, and by the way, I'm watching everything on my laptop, so yeah. Alright, so let's do this. Alright. So starting off with like heartbeat noises. True pizza delivery horror story 3.
I was out doing a delivery one late night.
Okay.
It was probably the longest drive I had ever taken for a pizza delivery. From the pizza place I worked at, it was a 20-minute drive, which isn't too crazy out where I live. Plus, they ordered 4 large pies, so I figured it was a party and I would get a much bigger tip. Navigating the dirt roads at night was always annoying, though.
Imagine he sees like a clown.
I pulled up to the given address. It was some old, sketchy-looking building, literally in the middle of a forest clearing. There were no cars parked anywhere, or any lights on.
That's sketchy.
I put my car in park and called my boss. I asked him to reread the address at least 3 times to make sure I typed it in right, but that checked out. I could tell he was in a really bitchy mood, and he told me to at least knock on the door and check it out. He would normally get mad if we took back 1 pie, but I was afraid of what he would do if I brought back 4.
It'd be like that.
I was insanely unnerved, but got out anyway and forced myself to the front door of the building. There was no doorbell, so I just knocked really hard. I heard nothing and didn't really expect to hear anything. I was extremely disappointed, not because nobody answered the door, but because I was realizing that it was all a waste of time and gas. I knocked 1 more time out of desperation.
Let's hope this gets scary soon.
And then began to hear some kind of rustling noises from inside of the building. I knocked again and yelled that I was the pizza guy. There was silence now. I felt a bit more uncomfortable now than before. But before I could turn around, I noticed something at the window. There was someone looking through the window.
Ew.
I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. All I noticed were their eyes. Their eyes were open wider than I knew possible, staring intently
Like, hello.
at me. I was disturbed enough by this and dropped the pizzas and ran back to my car. The shitty thing wouldn't start until turning the key for the 3rd time. I drove off the grass and back onto the dirt road.
Ew.
But I felt the car rocking about, shaking and bumping. Something wasn't right.
Ooh, what if there's something under the car?
I didn't make it far from the building before I started hearing a sharp scraping sound coming from outside. There was so much resistance that I couldn't even drive. The car came to a stop. I got out of the car to check what the hell was wrong. A chill ran up my spine as I began to feel like my heart was constantly skipping beats.
Watch something's under the car, watch.
My tires had been slashed and had completely fallen off the rim.
What the?
Not just the front though.
How did he
All 4 tires were slashed. I realized somebody did this when I was knocking on the door to that building.
Someone's following you.
Instead of running, I got back in the car and locked the doors.
That person probably in your car.
I was so close to that building, I could practically see it from where I was, if it weren't for the trees blocking the view. I dialed 911 and explained everything to the operator. She told me the cops would be over as soon as possible and that I need to stay hidden. I asked her if it was advisable to stay in the car or run, and she told me it would be best to stay in the car with the door locked. She asked me to stay on the line with her until the cops arrived. My whole body was shaking. In all directions, there was nothing but dark, seemingly endless forest. I knew it would take forever for the cops to get there. I was not comfortable with sitting in that car so close to whoever did this. The next part, though,
that person that
is
was
what
staring at him
utterly
probably
destroyed me.
looking at him right now like, hello.
It still shakes me to this day, and I hope nobody ever has to experience this kind of fear. As I was scanning all the windows, making sure nobody was outside, I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was the same person. The same person I saw at that window.
But I said, ooh,
eyes
it's
open
nasty.
wider than ever.
How their eyes
I could
mad
see
like
now
looking like
that
a
it was a
ugh.
woman, and I could ever so slightly see a smile
Hello.
begin to
Ooh,
spread
that's
across her face.
nasty. She's like,
I opened my door and full-on sprinted
why
into
he
the
ran
woods,
like
not
that?
caring how much noise I made.
But
I
no.
ran until I was out of breath,
Oh
which
no.
didn't take
What would
long,
you do? Would
and
you
I hid
stay in the
behind a giant
car
log on the
while the
ground.
lady just
I
like
tried to cover my
probably hop
loud
on your
breathing with
car
my
or would you run
hands
away?
as I
Knowing that she might
waited
catch you.
and waited for what felt like
I honestly
hours
don't know. I'll probably just pray in
until I
that
finally
situation.
heard
No, no,
sirens
no.
in the distance. I gathered up all the stamina I had left to run all the way back in the direction of the dirt
Ew.
road. Eventually, the glowing red and blue lights came into view, and I had never felt better in my life.
Watch it not even be the
They were
cops.
parked
Oh,
in
yes,
front
they
of
are.
my car, investigating with flashlights. I came out yelling at them like a lunatic to help me. I fell to the floor and started to gag, almost throwing up from running so much. They picked me up and began to question me, to which I explained everything to the best of my ability. One of the two cars drove over to the building, and the two officers began to search the building.
She probably not in
They
there.
came back with nothing except for a couple of spiky objects. These
Spiky,
objects were exactly the same as the ones used to slash my tires. The cops guessed that it was some kind of sick, demented couple, being that I saw the
Couple?
woman, but unfortunately they were never found. And that still kills me to this day.
Where's the man then if it's a couple?
I obviously quit my job right after that and started working at a local grocery store. I know that I'll never forget seeing
cheese
that
look like
woman
Pac-Man.
at the back of my car.
Ooh. She popped up out of like, hello. Okay, this is no True Home Alone Story 3. Oh, Stories 3.
I
Okay.
recently moved out, and
Alright,
I
let's see
already
if
have a
this one's
horror
scarier
story
than
to
the
tell.
last one. Or creepier, at
The
least.
house I moved into isn't anything impressive. It's just a house that's appropriate for one or two people.
Same.
But I'd say right away, I started hearing weird sounds coming from inside the walls.
Ooh.
I first
Inside the
heard it in the
walls?
kitchen, and then in the bathroom. But on night 3, I started hearing it in my bedroom.
Ew.
I was sure there was some kind of animal living in my walls. I just had to figure out how to get rid of it. The next morning, I
See,
didn't
when you
even
live in
have
the
enough milk
projects, if
to
you hear
fill the
something in
bowl
the
of
wall, you think
cereal.
it's a rat.
I couldn't believe I
me
hadn't
stop.
realized I needed more milk. In fact, I seemed to be eating up all of my food pretty fast. I woke
Same.
up in the middle of that night to the sound of breathing.
Ew.
Not my breathing. It sounded
What if
just
something's
like
under
the
his
breathing
bed?
of a person.
Ooh.
I
That's
flipped the
nasty.
lamp on and it stopped.
Ew.
I chalked it up as my mind playing tricks on me after waking up.
Imagine turning the lights off and you hear
The
breathing
next
in
day
your
was
room
really
and then
hot,
turning
so
them
I
on
turned
and
on the
then
AC
boom, it
for the
stops.
first time.
Oh no, 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 no,
I
no,
checked
no.
every single vent, and some of them weren't blowing any air. One of them being the vent right next to my bed.
Ew.
I peered through the vent with a flashlight. There wasn't even a duct behind the vent. It was just the inside of the wall.
Yeah, what the
It
heck?
seemed that whatever air duct was in there had been removed.
Yeah, something's in
Unfortunately,
your
I didn't
room.
look into the air conditioning system while buying the house, so I didn't know about this. That night, I had to sleep in the heat with no AC, so I was up pretty late, constantly rolling around and flipping the pillow over. Then I eventually started to hear the breathing again, but this time I was fully awake. I knew it was real this time. It was coming to my left. I looked to my left at the air vents.
Ooh.
The sound was surely coming from in
What
there.
if there's someone just staring at him?
I
through
grabbed the
Ooh,
flashlight
that's
again and
nasty.
shined it in through the vent.
Ew,
I
ew,
dropped
ew,
it
ew,
and
ew.
screamed. There was someone's face peering through the cracks of the vents.
Ah!
The
Oh,
first
that's
thing
not
I
even
saw
scary,
were
but still,
their
I got
eyes,
scared.
open
Ooh, damn
wide
it.
and
Darn
glowing.
it.
I screamed all the way down and out the house.
I just don't like things.
I soon
It's
found
like,
out
ooh.
there was a crazy, dangerous homeless man living in my walls,
Okay.
and he had been eating my food ever since I moved in.
Not a homeless man in your walls. Oh no, son. You need to go home. Oh wait, he don't got one. That's sad. Yikes. Okay, true hunting stories. Let's see.
I was doing some night hog hunting in the woods near my backyard.
Hog hunting?
I was hiding in the tower I had built about a decade ago. In case anyone's wondering, I of course had a night vision scope attachment. I guess I'm what you would consider a hardcore hunter. I
never
don't want to
hunted
bore you with
before.
the unnecessary story prolonging details, so I'll make this short. And I want everyone to know that though I agree this story sounds far-fetched and crazy, it is nothing but the truth. And I, in a way, actually consider myself lucky that I'll always have such a horrifying story to share. So, while I was sitting in the tower waiting for movement, it finally came. I took aim and found the source. But it wasn't at all a
You
hog,
gotta shoot
or
him.
any kind of animal I was expecting. It was a person. A man wearing all black. Black sweatpants, black shoes, and a black hoodie with the hood over his head. But that wasn't the freakiest part.
Why he limping like that?
He was dragging
He's
a
like,
sack behind him.
ooh, yikes.
My heart started racing. I was pretty sure I was witnessing this guy trying to bury a body.
Or an animal.
I continued to watch him. But then he slowed down.
What if he
And I
start
swear to
looking at
God,
you?
it looked
Hey,
as if he turned his
swearing
head
about
up to me.
Hello, let me stop.
I ducked down under the wooden walls of the tower, shaking in my boots.
You got a whole
Yes,
gun.
I had a gun.
Oh.
But just the idea of using it against a person is
Oh,
horrifying.
yeah, you're right.
I
don't
lay
have to
low,
kill him, you can shoot him
praying
in the
to
leg.
God that he hadn't seen me. It
I
wouldn't make
guess-
sense if he could, though. It's
Yeah, what if he
practically
gets
pitch
up
black
and,
out
like, the
here.
dude's, like, right
Or
there,
at
like,
least,
here?
that was my logic. Seconds felt like an eternity as I waited for the footsteps in the leaves to move elsewhere.
I'd be like,
But I didn't hear any footsteps. All I heard was the sound of a foot hitting one of the wooden planks on the ladder of the tower.
up, yep, that dude's coming
I felt
for
the
you.
entire tower vibrate and shake as there were 2 more steps moving up the ladder.
Oh,
At this point, I was asking myself deep down, am I going to be able to shoot someone? But for some reason, whoever was
don't
down there decided not to
I
climb
don't
all
know
the
what
way
I would
up,
do in that situation.
as I heard them jump back down to the forest ground and began dragging the sack away.
That's
I think I stayed frozen like a statue for at least 10 minutes before even peeking over the ledge again.
Oh, I got scared. Whew.
The coast seemed clear. I had to get home and warn the police immediately. I hopped over the ledge and descended down the ladder. I turned on my pocket flashlight, which in hindsight was a stupid move considering the situation,
Yeah.
and ran back in the direction of my house. I was only able to run for about 10 seconds or so when I heard the rapid, manic footsteps crunching the leaves from behind me.
Oh, nope.
I took a look over my shoulder, and there he was, inches away from my face. I spun around and shot him in the shoulder. He stopped and screamed in agony, and I took that moment to finish my dash to my house. Again, in hindsight, I should have held him hostage somehow, but that doesn't even matter now. I called the police, who showed up within 15 minutes with a whole search squad, and I led them all into the woods to the exact location where I shot him. There was a faint yet noticeable blood trail spilled onto the leaves, which led past the body bag, which the cops seized, and eventually right to the maniac, who was hiding under a log next to a tree. He was arrested and tried for the murder of Jinquen Sakanaki, a Japanese corner store owner.
He killed somebody, so
I don't know the full story behind it, but I do know I
Ew.
won't
What
forget
if he
this
was
one
gonna
for the
kill
rest of
him?
my life, and I'll also be telling it for the rest of my life.
Well, I'm gonna end this right here. So I'm gonna call this part 1. So yeah, guys, it wasn't really that scary. I thought it was gonna be scarier than that, or like, you know, like make me scream or something like that. But I guess these type of like story times are just like to creep you out, and it did creep me out, and it was weird because like people staring at you and all that. So yeah, this is like a reaction video basically of like these story times. So yeah, well, yeah, it was more of like a reaction rather than a challenge. So I guess I'll call this reaction video. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want, you could share this video and let your friends know who I am. So again, I'm Jasmine, and I love you guys. Bye.